Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing this, which is Rock and Ships. Now, Rock and Ships is a TV series, and it's also a prequel to Only Fools and Horses. Obviously, I mean, everybody knows who Only Fools and Horses is unless you live under a rock. This is an amazing show. I mean, this is a great prequel, and I really recommend you watch it. And it also answers unanswered questions from Only Fools and Horses, such as these two things, such as the Frog's legacy, where we kind of discover this mystery about Freddy the Frog and who Freddy the Frog is. So that's kind of good from this episode. And also we get some more answers about Rodney's paternal father. So yeah, we get it from in there and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's a really great prequel. It's a nice little prequel. It's only 3 episodes long, and I really recommend you watch it. I think they sell them in, I think you'll be able to find it in CX or HMV. I know, all of the great places, you'll be able to find it. It's a great prequel, and that's what I've got to say. But I'm going to be moving into certain storylines and characters. Obviously, let's talk about young Del Boy first. Now, let's get me started on this. Now, Del Boy, what can I say about Del Boy in this prequel? He's pretty good. He's played by James Buckley. James Buckley does a brilliant job. Obviously, it's quite a difficult task. I mean, you're being asked to play one of the most iconic comedy characters ever, which I mean is very difficult in itself. But James Buckley does a good job. He's got the personality. He's also got the swagger as well with Del. He's kind of got that kind of, that kind of movement and all that kind of stuff. Shame we never actually get to see him wear the flat cap, but I guess that didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, I think he does a great job. He's got the personality, the swagger, and all that kind of stuff. And when he says stuff, it's kind of, in a Del Boy kind of way. But his voice and the way he looks doesn't scream, "Oh, that's Derek Trotter." It's something a bit. He's doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. James Buckley does a superb job as young Del. But it's just, I don't know. It's something that seems. I can't picture David Jason, being like that when he was younger, as Del Boy. It's a bit of a weird thing, but I guess it kind of makes sense, really. Yeah, so I think he does a superb job, completely. Certain things about James Buckley, though, is the charisma of the character, and also do like it where in episode 3 they get the scooters and they go off, and what a great ending that is, completely. And also I like the whole Dockside Secondary Modern gang. Pretty good. Slater, I mean, that's intriguing, seeing Slater when he was younger, and him being as much as he was like a really well-behaved student, but like he was over the top, like he was gonna, do something back and all that kind of stuff. It kind of sees how, Slater just wanted to, fit in and be friends with them, but obviously it didn't work because they're very different, obviously, Del Boy and all that lot. But going back to Del Boy, something else I've got to say. I think James Buckley is a little bit too tall for Derek Trotter. This is just me saying it completely, but James Buckley is about 5'8", so similar height to me. And David Jason's only about 5'5", so it is quite a drastic height difference, I would say. So it is kind of different though, but I guess he is younger in Only Fools and Horses. He's older in Only Fools and Horses, so he could have shrunk. Oh yes, I guess we could have worked that into the canon, I guess. And if I'm completely honest, I know a lot of people get annoyed about prequels. Oh, they've got inaccuracies to the series and all that. I literally don't care. I mean, I don't care that there's any inaccuracies with Rock and Ships, because it's amazing, and I want to say that it is an incredible prequel. I mean, I would say it's not as good as First of the Summer Wine, because I really love that prequel. That is amazing. That is First Summer Wine, but it's a good prequel. I mean, I don't really care that there's inaccuracies on dates and all that, whatnot. Rodney's age, Del's age, and talking of Del's age, something else I'm pretty just going to rant on this for a minute. Del is supposed to be about 15, 16, 17 throughout these 3 specials, but the age gap between Del and Rodney in Only Fools and Horses is 13 years, and they mention it all the time. It was, oh, I wish you could have been born, you know, like 2 or 3 years after me. No, you had to wait 13 years. You know, they have that iconic line from some of the early episodes. And it was a bit weird, it's kind of all forgotten about, and Del's now, like, a lot older than he is in the actual series. But I don't mind it. I don't mind. But, yeah, the Dockside Secondary Modern Gang, I think they're brilliant. Denzel is amazingly cast. Now, he sounds like Denzel. He's got you know, the Liverpool accent and all that kind of stuff. But he really does sound like him, and I think he does a superb job. Despite the fact that he doesn't really look like Denzel. But, you know, he does a good job with what he's given, and he sounds like him as well. He's pretty good as well. Trigger. Now, I've got to mention this. This is superb casting. I don't think I've ever seen a better casting. If you imagine Roger Lloyd Pack when he was younger, and then you stick the character of Trigger on him, it is completely top notch. I mean, I think that is probably the best casting out of all the characters, if I'm completely honest. Bar Freddy the Frog, which also I'll get into later. But yeah, he looks like Trigger. I mean, I'll probably edit in a photo up here somewhere of you know, Trigger. But yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? He sounds like him, he looks like him, and it's brilliant. Absolutely superb. And also Jumbo. Yeah, I think Jumbo's alright, but in the episode that Jumbo does appear in Only Fools and Horses, they make out that he had curly hair when he was younger. He doesn't in this, but it's not a big deal. Don't need to worry about it. It's a brilliant watch. You should watch it. Yeah, so they all do a great job. And Boise. Now, I need to mention this, but the person they have for Boise, obviously this is the Boise Teddy talk thing. I love this, got this years ago. But for Boise, they got this younger actor who obviously was about the same age as the other lads, and he looks a lot like him, and I think he would pass. Obviously, he just needs the moustache, but he had the same kind of, and this similar kind of way about him and mannerisms, which I thought was a superb casting, and I think that is purely one of the best castings of as well as Trigger. But yeah, I think all of them are cast really well. Roy Slater's cast really well, and all that kind of stuff. But moving on to Del's mum. Now, Del's mum is not what I, like, you know, imagined from, you know, like, Only Fools and Horses. I kind of pictured someone else. But, yeah, I think Kelly Bright does a brilliant job as portraying, for playing Del's mum. I think she does do a superb job. I mean, she comes across really well, and you see how much she actually loves and cares for Del, and all of them really, apart from Reg, because Reg is a complete moron. More on that later. But yeah, you kind of see how much she loves and cares for Del and everyone, and how she's holding that family together. Because she's the only one who's got a job. She's the only one actually working. She's the only one actually giving stuff to the family, which I think is incredible. And I'm going to talk about Reg now. For one thing, it's a bit like the James Buckley thing, but it's a bit different. Alright, so he's played by Sean Dingwall. Sean Dingwall. I think that's how you say his name. He was in Doctor Who playing Rose Tyler's dad, and they said he was a bit of a Del Boy character in that, and that's weird. Years later, he would be in this. Completely mad. But yeah, I think he does a great job. Something else I'm going to mention is he is way too tall to be a trotter. Now I'm saying this purely it's just Sean Dingwall's about 5'10". Now that is quite tall for the trotters, because in Only Fools and Horses, when Reg turns up, he's like smaller than Del Boy, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. So that was a bit random, really. And I love that scene where he gets the fish dropped on his head. Priceless. That is a brilliant scene. Brilliant scene. And he's so horrible and arrogant. And I like how they kind of have that argument between, you know, Del and Reg, and then there's like kind of this like showdown. And he's like talking about giving his mum a black eye and all that kind of stuff. It's horrible. He's horrible. Like, no wonder Del absolutely despises him in Only Fools and Horses when you got to see what he's actually really like and what he did in Thicker Than Water, the episode that he appears in. Like, completely horrible, horrible man. And I think Joan should have left him years ago, but she was obviously stuck with him, which I feel sorry for. But yeah, he does a brilliant job. Sean Dingwall does a superb job, and I've got to praise the acting. Yeah, again, not really looking like Reggie in the series, but I don't know. I mean, the personality of him being all aggro and punchy and that kind of stuff, I think that suits Reg, and I think he does a good job for that. Oh, Grandad, I've got to mention Grandad, obviously, played by Phil Daniels. Yeah, Phil Daniels, who obviously appeared in this as Grandad, and he does a superb job. Yeah, so Phil Daniels does a brilliant job as, you know, portraying Grandad. I burnt your pizza. Yeah, yeah, that was awful. But yeah, he does a great job. Again, something else that annoys me, and it's to do with the size difference. All right, Grandad was the second, you know, tallest out of the main three in Only Fools and Horses, because he was taller than Del but shorter than Rodney. So, but in this, he's shorter than Del and Reg. I don't know, but no, don't matter anyway. But he does a great job. Phil Daniels. He was obviously in EastEnders. He played the father of Dino Wicks in EastEnders, or Dean Wicks is how he's known. But yeah, he was in EastEnders and he did a brilliant job in that. And he did a brilliant job in playing Delboy as well. He really, not Delboy, sorry, Grandad. He did a really good job in capturing the way that Grandad is, which I thought he did a brilliant job. Obviously, we find out that he had an affair with Trigger's nan, and that kind of goes into the canon of Only Fools all over the place, and it really works. Like, the good thing about Rock and Chips is it tied up all the loose ends, all the, you know, the bits that hadn't been solved from Only Fools and Horses, which is something the Green Grass didn't, because that was a purely focused spin-off about Boise and Marlene and Tiber. So that's what I really do love about this. Yeah, moving on to the kind of love story, as it were. So basically, we have Freddy the Frog. He's just been released from prison after he's done all robberies and stuff. And he's been down in Devon, obviously, because he was in prison down there, and he's left there along with Kelly the Jelly, explosive expert. So they leave. After they left prison, they go back down to you know, Peckham, where they're obviously originally from, and then they go across this thing. They see Delboy's mum, and immediately Freddy the Frog falls in love with her. He just sees her, and it's love at first sight. They love each other, and that's something that happens immediately. They just fall straight in love. Well, he does anyway, until he meets her later at the pub. And then obviously you got Del and the gang all like mucking around, and they go up to like his car and like, oh, I'm gonna be driving one of these one day, and all that kind of stuff. And Del's being all like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a red car like this, and he's speaking as if he's like really cool, and he's got this big imagination of the future. Which, I mean, he does own a pretty nice Rolls Royce until they lose all the money. Spoiler. But yeah, he it's a brilliant thing like that, and he's like, he makes a joke at him, and he says, "Oh, well, I'll break you," or something like that, and he kind of digs into him there, which I think's funny as well. But also, Nicholas Lyndhurst, I've got to mention, Nicholas Lyndhurst, you are an amazing actor. Now, I doubt you're going to be watching this, but I've got to say that the way you portray Freddy the Frog, he's so... It's something like he's like, you know, he's a bad person, but he's like a good person, but who's had bad luck. And he likes the robbery. He likes, you know, that hunt down, you know, the kind of aggroness and the kind of like, oh, my life is rubbish, you know, that kind of stuff like that. And he's like, And when he meets Joni, his life starts to become better. Like, he feels better, and then he finds out she's pregnant, and he wants to do something. He wants to be there for the kid. He wants to do all of that kind of stuff, which I think is really nice. But due to the fact that she was married to, Reg, it never happens, and I find that so sad. That all of the reasoning behind that, and then you wonder why Rodney's so messed up and confused in Only Fools and Horses, and you know why, because a lot of people in his family didn't love him. Only Del and Grandad really loved and cared for him, and I find that it's really sad. It's really weird. Only Fools and Horses. There's loads of comedy and funny, brilliant bits, in Only Fools and Horses, but then when you think about the heart of Only Fools and Horses and its spin-offs and prequels, you really get the sense that it's also a drama as well, and you kind of feel that, you love these characters because they are just truly amazing, and that's what I've got to say. It's just truly amazing. And Rock and Chips, though, brilliant. If you have not seen it, and I don't know why you haven't, I think you should buy it. You should go and watch it. It's just brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, something else I've got to say. So it's these nice 3 episodes. They're long as well, so you get to have an in-depth look at them. And I do love it how we do start off, in the Trotters' house. That they actually lived in a house. I mean, can you imagine the Trotters living in a house? I know, it's mad, isn't it? Because obviously they're known for living in Nelson Mandela House. Yeah, so that's rather peculiar. That, they're actually living in a house. They're actually living in a house, which I think is brilliant in itself. And we get to see how Del and Grandad have to share a room. It's like that bad. It's so weird. And Reg is just lazy and doesn't have a job and nothing like that. And he's just a complete idiot all the time. I do think it's amazing, though. I do find it so peculiar that so Joan obviously keeps it a secret about obviously Rodney not being Reggie's son, but Reg doesn't really know anyway, and he's just a bit clueless, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's brilliant. But Freddy the Frog, as I'm going back to, he's got a great storyline with him in the police and all of that, and they. Oh, something else I've got to mention. Now this is a key bit of information that I know I was going to forget, and it's back to this: Only Fools and Horses, Sleepless and Peckham, the last ever episode that ever be made of Only Fools and Horses. Now, in this story, we get a photo of the Jolly Boys outing 1960. I'll probably put that photo on the screen at some point. But yeah, we get that photo of the Jolly Boys outing 1960. And we actually see the events of the Jolly Boys outing 1960, which I think is incredible. I mean, completely bamboozling that we actually get to see this. But yeah, we get to see, obviously, all the lads from Dockside Secondary Modern. They go on the Beano to Margate and all that sort of stuff. But Freddy the Frog and Kelly the Jelly break in to the Margate jewellers, and they rob it, obviously, because they're burglars and robbers and thieves and all that, which I think is a great touch. And they see that and they take all of that. But we also get to see the events of what's going on. We see all the events of Jolly Boys out in 1960, which I think is brilliant. But we also get to see that we get to see Jumbo and Albie Littlewood. I haven't mentioned Albie Littlewood. He was mentioned in Only Fools and Horses like once, and he appears in this. So Albie Littlewood and Albie Littlewood, he's been taking drugs, which is bad, obviously. Drugs, and even Del calls him out on this. Says, "Do you know what these things do to you?" Like that. That was a completely awful impression. But yeah, like he was talking about how, like, don't do it, you know, it's bad. And so does Boise and Trigger, well, not Trigger, but Boise and that. They all say that stuff messes you up, and it does, because they're toxic drugs and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's great that they got that, you know, awareness in there of those drugs. Because in the 60s they were using them also. But yeah, Albie Littlewood and Jumbo, absolute stupid. But you know what I can laugh at? Is that they gave it to Roy Slater. So I think that's funny. That is funny. And then he starts dancing around, and they keep on saying, oh, he's like he's on Come Dancing. And it's, you know, funny and brilliant. But something else I'm going to get into that I don't think very many people talk about when they talk about this show is this style and aesthetic of it. I think it's really nice. It's really bright and cool and kind of works so well. And I think it's brilliant. And obviously, you know, we get the scooters bits in the episode 3, which I think is brilliant as well, where they drive off. They're not drive from the sunset into the dark, actually. But also in the episode 5 Gold Rings, or 5 Rings or something, I've forgotten the name. But we get to see Del. He buys 4 rings, engagement rings, and he gets engaged for 3 people. 3 people. Which I think's absolutely amazing, and I can't believe he got engaged to 3 people. Yeah, the first one didn't go so well. He accidentally said something dodgy in French. Del Boy and his French faces. But they were given to him by his mum, by Freddy the Frog. So I wouldn't trust him if I was you. He's dodgy. He's a dodgy man, but he's a good man. But he's dodgy. It's a bit weird. Yeah. So we get to see him do that, and then the other one, yeah, that didn't go well. And then the other one where he gets with that girl, and none of the family can pronounce her name, and it's a complete thing. And then to make it even worse is that Grandad's wife makes, her name's Val Trotter. Yep. She makes a sari, and it's like all knitted and awful. And she's like, "Look at me, Derek Trotter." And he's like, "Yeah." And then he threw the ring at him, which I think is brilliant, because that was even referencing Ruby Rasmount throwing the rings back at him, which actually happened, which is bad. And then he got engaged to another person, Barbara. Now Barbara, he kind of sticks with all the way throughout episode 3, and I think that's really nice. You see, Del might fall in love with this person, get married and engaged. No, that doesn't happen. Spoiler alert. I mean, it never happens in Any Fools and Horses, bar Raquel. But yeah, obviously him and Barbara. And then he goes around the house, you know, and then he takes her to the golden egg. He gives her food, and he's like, someone's dropped a lemon on my fish. He's like, and I just go, I hope you like it. Because obviously you squirt lemon over your fish and all that sort of stuff. But back in the 60s, I mean, that was probably a bit strange. But yeah. Squirt lemon, and he's like, I think this is falling out of someone's drink. And then the bloke goes up to him, and he's like, I think someone's dropped this out of their drink. And he's like, no, that's meant to be there. And obviously Barbara's really embarrassed, because obviously she knows, but you know, he doesn't. That's quite funny. Also, Barbara's parents, they're weird. Completely weird. Like, do you know how I said that Reg and Joni were like, oh, well, Reg is an idiot and Joan's nice, yeah? Then you have Barbara's parents. They're like crazy. Absolutely crazy. She literally assaults Del. Like, why? Because she's weird. Like, I mean, it's weird. Absolutely weird. I mean, I would recommend watching the episode to see how weird it is. But yeah, just too weird. And I think his name's Alex McQueen. Something, he plays Barbara's dad, and he's weird. Complete nutter. Yeah, but they're both weird. I don't really like those two characters. But I mean, Barbara's nice, and she does a great job. But yeah, I do think all the characters are really greatly casted. I mean, not all of them look or sound like them, apart from Trigger and Boise. They were amazing. Del, he was good, but he just didn't sound like him. But he had the personality and charm of Del Boy, so that sold it completely. And obviously the love story of Freddie Robdell and obviously Joan. I think that's really nice, and how that all kind of comes together over the 3 episodes. And at the last episode, they want to run away together to go to the seaside, and the seaside was actually where he buried the gold bullion, obviously. But we they still never dug up the gold bullion. It really annoyed me. I would have loved it if they'd done it in this episode, dug up the gold bullion. That would have been incredible. Yeah, so that was a bit of a shame that never happened. But yeah, and apparently, according to the story of Only Fools and Horses, which I think was broadcast on Gold in 2017 or 2018, they said that there was more episodes of Rockin' Ships planned, but unfortunately never came to be due to the unfortunate passing of John Sullivan. And John Sullivan, I've got to say, as a writer, absolute legend. I mean, I know there are some amazing comedy writers. You've got Roy Clark, obviously John Sullivan, obviously amazing writer. Crofton Perry. I mean, some of these writers, absolutely mad. Absolutely incredible writing. I mean, but what I can say though, in John Sullivan's amazing creativeness, I mean, he'll always be remembered as the man who created Only Fools and Horses, and I mean, you created something amazing, something incredible, and so far so that you did a prequel and it was brilliant as well as doing Green Grass. I know you didn't write every episode of Green Grass. I know your son Jim Sullivan wrote some of it as well, but in all of the stuff that you've done, it's absolutely incredible. Oh god, got a bit of a cough there. But yeah, that's kind of what I can say really. But I do like how, I don't want to spoil everything, but this is kind of, because obviously you obviously want to watch it, obviously. But I do like how each episode, there's like big time jumps between each episode, which I think is really good. Which kind of makes all the characters more fleshed out as well. And I do love how it's like, we don't just focus on one side of the story, we focus on the other side as well. We have the Trotter family, which is kind of compacted a little bit down, so we don't focus too much on them in the flat. But there is quite a lot, but not as much. And then we focus on Del and the boys, and I think that's brilliant. That stuff's amazing. And then we obviously focus on, Joni and Freddie, obviously, which I think is amazing as well. But something else I'm going to go back to is, I believe, Old Ship. The song that Del's Old Ship, I think it's called. Yeah, that he sings in Only Fools and Horses, Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, that song's in there, and he loves it and sings along to it in there. So that's a nice little throwback. And also the thing about the canteen being closed in one of the episodes with the police officers. That's a reference to May the Force Be With You, which was the episode that had Roy Slater's first appearance. So there were nice callbacks into Only Fools and Horses, which I really loved, that were scattered throughout. And obviously Del doing dodgy stuff like selling records and getting arrested by Roy Slater, which I found incredible. But they were let off without warning, so it's fine. I do like the American records thing that they're selling. It's a bit dodgy, but yeah, I think he does a great job. Last but not least, James Buckley. I know you didn't look like him, you didn't sound like him, you're a lot bigger than he was, but something I can say, James Buckley, you did an amazing job. I know you played Jay in The Inbetweeners. I mean, I haven't really watched much of that, but I've heard he's done a good job in that. But yeah, I think that he does do a great job, and I feel like he did a good enough job as was given. And obviously, in First of the Summer Wine, with David Fennick playing the lead, obviously as Norman Clegg, he does a great job where he perfects his voice. He sounds exactly like Peter Sallis, which James Buckley didn't do, but he could have done. But I still think that It was incredible though, James Buckley, and you deserve everything for that. I mean, brilliant. So, that brings me to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a video soon enough. Let me know what you think of Rockin' Ships, if you've seen it, if you watched it, and if you've done anything like that at all. I mean, or seen any of Rockin' Ships or any Fools and Horses. Have you never seen Rockin' Ships? I mean, let me know. But yeah, I mean, all of the cast were amazing. Obviously, the main cast, obviously, you know, Nicholas Lyndhurst, Kelly Bright, you know, James Buckley, Phil Daniels. I think, yes, Sean Dingwall. I mean, all did a brilliant job, and I think they deserve it all, really. They were incredible, and I do love the aesthetics and the appeal of Rockin' Ships. It's completely great. It's even referenced in the first episode by Jumbo Mills. But yeah, completely great. And all the cinema stuff, I wasn't a big fan of that. It was a bit creepy and a bit weird. But yeah, that brings me to the end. Bye for now, and see you in another video. Lovely jubbly.